convenient place to pull up on the right?
Because there's a bus lane, so we don't want to pull there. Checking mirrors. Oh, clutch. First. Yeah, I think that's good. Handbrake.
So how was it different to pulling up on the left?
I just want to check.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's good.
How was it different to pulling up on the left then?
It was. I think it's actually a bit easier. I actually, because doing it that way means I can kind of lose some of the power in the turn and then glide myself in, so I'm not as reliant on the brake. Which was why I went, oh no, I need to have handbrake on and into first, because normally I'd be in first as is, so I could lose more power. You know, I'd be going a bit slower, and first would make sense.
So I'm hearing you saying that actually you felt a little bit more control than you
Yeah.
had done. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. One of the things that you said as you were coming up was you said check mirrors. What made you say that? What was going through your mind when you were saying that while making a decision?
I was checking for anything behind me that would affect how I kind of turned. I knew I could see the road in front of me, so that was kind of a given already. And I also checked this mirror to check if for any cyclists trying to overtake me. I don't know why, because they should be on this side, but
They could in theory be anywhere. They could in theory be coming over to come onto the right like you, couldn't
yeah.
they?
And also anything trying to overtake me on that road.
Yeah.
But even though there were parked cars there, but again, it's just practice.
Yeah, could happen. What would you do then in that situation if you'd checked those mirrors and that's what you'd seen, that was the information you got?
I would slow down and kind of wait for them to pass, or it would continue on.
Okay.
I wouldn't cross over though.
So you'd make the decision based on the vibes that you were getting from them, about whether it was worth stopping or continuing.
Yeah, because it's not like I can't park a bit further down, whereas if I completely cut them off, I might cause an accident, and then I definitely won't be able to park because I'll be too busy probably having some kind of breakdown.
Picking up pieces.
Yeah.
So let's take possibly a slightly more common situation then, where perhaps you checked your middle mirror and your right mirror, nobody was overtaking you, but there was somebody behind you. How would that then affect what you did and your decisions?
If there was someone behind me, I'd be a bit more cautious about crossing, because there is always a possibility that they could try and overtake me, because I would have been going slower than the speed limit. So I would cross over, unlike if someone was overtaking me, but I'd be a bit more cautious about it, so I'd keep an eye on where they were and just kind of make sure it was all smooth. And that is probably my friend.
So, am I hearing you say then that your behaviour, because you have potentially slowed down and you've done something that the guy behind wasn't necessarily expecting you to do, might then make him do something else?
Yeah.
Okay. What does he think you're doing?
He probably thinks I'm either turning into somewhere like here, or I'm going up to park. There's not really much else I could give away by just turning over like that.
Okay.
So it has to be either parking or parking. It's just dependent on where I'm parking.
Okay.
However, for somewhere like this, I could be turning that way, but for that, I think I'd be indicating. So,
Yeah, potentially. How else can we communicate with somebody? That's what we're wanting to do.
We could indicate, but that might confuse them, especially in like housing areas and near junctions, because it could be that they could misinterpret as I'm turning in.
But would that necessarily affect them, whether you've been pulling up on the side or turning in? Is the outcome the same?
Yeah, the outcome is the same. I'm getting out of their way, and to do that I'm going to need to slow down and things. So it's still warning them. I could also do it with road position, so I could move slightly more inwards to kind of let them know I'm going over this way.
Yeah, I like that. Both ways I think are probably potentially effective, aren't they? If you were driving down the road and we were following somebody and they were about to do something that you weren't necessarily expecting them to do, so to pull up on the right, for example, or move into a driveway on the right, both we've acknowledged are the same principles in a way, what would you like them to do as far as informing you that that was their intentions?
I'd like to get some kind of warning, like moving out into the middle of the road, so I know they're kind of doing something a bit out of the ordinary, and probably indicating. because
I agree.
that little extra bit of flashy yellow would kind of warn me that they're slowing
Mm.
down, whereas, and brake lights, I guess.
Yeah.
Shh.
Yeah.
Stop playing both devil's advocate and smart ass at the same time.
But I like your thought processes, James, and actually sometimes it's good to put ourselves in someone else's position and think, how would we like them to be helping us, I guess. So I think that that's right. Keep that in your mind then when we do this a few times about your decision making and about how you can inform people about what you're going to do. So you've looked at the advantages of coming across here. Are there any disadvantages to being here on the right?
No, not necessarily. Like, disadvantage is the passenger has to get out onto the road. Also, I can't see what's coming that way, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to rely quite heavily on the mirror to know if it's safe to cross back over. Other than that, I can't really think of any.
So if your passenger wasn't an adult who you'd hope had a little bit of kind of road sense and understanding, and your passenger was perhaps Joe, your brother.
I wouldn't park on the right.
Right.
I just wouldn't, because that's kind of, it's Joe, and even though he does have common sense, he just acts like he doesn't.
He's still young as well, though, isn't he? And so
he's
from
still
a
young.
roadworthy, road sense point of view, he doesn't
Yeah.
have that much experience, does he?
And his spatial awareness
Mhm.
is that of a goldfish. So he's not great with open areas, he can't take in too much information, so I'd definitely, if I had to park on the right, I'd leave him in the car and go and get him.
Right, okay.
Or get him to climb over.
Yeah, no, I like both those options, yeah, fair enough. Interesting what you said about the fact that you now have a kind of restricted view when you're now needing to join the road, and that you'd have to rely fairly heavily on your mirrors. When you look in your mirrors then, so you look in the middle mirror and your right mirror as you're sitting here, and then you look on over your right shoulder, Jim. So have you got a blind spot to your right, like you do when you're moving off from the left? Is there an area that is worth that double checking in before you move on?
Yeah, I guess, probably.
Mhm.
Actually, no, it might just be the road, but I can see pretty much all that I would be needing to see.
The driveway with the wrought iron gates, can you see that in either mirror?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So you haven't got that much of a blind spot, but as you say, it could well be the niceness of this road. It could well be different, couldn't it, if the road was bending in a slightly weird way. Tell you what then, when you're ready, move off back onto the correct side of the road and drive on and see how it feels. And just as you're doing it, talk to me about the type of things that you are taking into account and thinking about.
I'm doing this just because I trust my eyes better.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's a nice way of thinking about it. Following the road round to the right. And when it's safe to do so, pull up on the right for me.
And that is continuing on Parsons Junction. Need to cross back over to this side. That was stupid of me. I completely forgot I was at first. Right on. And I'm going to check again. Ooh, yeah, I definitely like this side more because I've got the curb on this side, so I can kind of better judge like how close I am to the side of the road.
Because it's on your side.
Yeah, because it's on my side and there's less of a gap between me and the judging point.
You do get a different angle over there, don't you, on the left? Because of where you're sitting. So, yeah, I can see that. That is interesting. Yeah, you're doing that. That's really nice. Tell me about the thought processes that went on back there then when you were making the decision.
What happened was I went to turn in and I again had, like I did with the first one where I pulled up on the left, I had a bit too much speed. So I glided in and I was sat next to the other car,
Mm.
and I could kind of see that I may have been inconveniencing things like bigger things. So I tried to move forward, then realised there was a junction there.
Mm.
So I moved back onto the left and continued on up the road so I could get a bit of a better position.
Any of those factors then that you could have considered differently, that you could have done at a different time or thought about at a different time, that meant that thought process didn't happen late?
I should have probably looked at the road and judged it a bit better before going straight over. I did the mirror checks and then I went, oh, right, it's fine, and went. Which,
looking at the junction and the blue car and all that kind of stuff. You did the right thing though. You acknowledged that then wasn't appropriate for you to be doing what you were doing, and you stayed safe and you reconsidered. So that is also a skill, isn't it? So that's great.